Well, a dangerous and potentially record-breaking heat wave is hitting states in the southwestern United States.
Parts of California, Arizona, Nevada, they've had excessive heat warnings, and some areas could see temperatures around 110 degrees. And the weather is temperatures are rising globally as well. The EU's climate service says last month was the hottest May on record, and the world has seen record temperatures now for 12 straight months.
CBS News senior national and environmental correspondent Ben Tracy is in Merced, California. That's in the central part of the state. So, Ben, a lot of times people hear these stories and they say, oh, it's summer and it's hot. This shouldn't be breaking news. Talk to us about why this is actually different than just normal summertime temperatures.
Yeah, so here in Merced right now, it's 83 degrees, which obviously is pretty pleasant, but in a couple of hours, it's going to be well over 100 degrees. They could hit 105 here today, which would tie the all-time record for this date. And the reason this is unusual is not because it's 105 in Merced. That happens often here in the summertime. What's unusual is that it's happening this early in the season. And when you look at places like Las Vegas or Phoenix, for them to be hitting, 112, 114, that happens, but it usually happens in July and August, and now it's happening in June. So this is a heat wave that is coming very early in the season. Those tend to hit people harder because they have not acclimated to this kind of extreme heat yet.
And one other important detail is that it doesn't necessarily have to be this way. We know that the European Climate Service released a report saying last month was the warmest May on record globally and the 12th consecutive month of record warmth. But there is a connection between all this extreme heat and climate change and human activity. Spell it out for us.
Yeah, when we talk about some of this weather phenomenon or natural disasters, the link between climate change and extreme heat is actually one of the clearest links that we have. Because as the planet warms, the baseline temperatures are higher. So when you then get a heat wave, which is something that may have happened anyway, it can just be that much more extreme. And the science does tell us that these heat waves are happening more often. And when they do happen, they're longer and they're more intense. In fact, climate scientists say this particular heat wave that we're just entering now that's expected to last for a couple of days, they say this was made 3 times more likely by human-caused climate change. And that, of course, comes from our continued burning of fossil fuels. So as long as we keep putting more carbon dioxide up into the atmosphere, these sorts of extreme heat events will only get more extreme.
And as you spelled out, Ben, there are times where there are surges in heat, but it's really about a sustained warming of the planet that's concerning. And there's another new report out today by the World Meteorological Organization that predicts that the planet will likely exceed that threshold of 1.5 degrees Celsius or 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit in the next 5 years. Talk to us about how that is so significant.
Yeah, so we focus on that number a lot, and that's because in the Paris Climate Accord, 1.5 degrees Celsius, or as you said, 2.7 Fahrenheit for those of us who work on that system, that is what climate scientists say is the threshold below which we can avoid some of the most severe impacts of climate change. And I know people might hear that and say, man, we're already experiencing severe impacts of climate change. And yes, we are. But the more we go over that threshold, the worse things will get. It doesn't mean that if we breach that threshold, it's game over and we shouldn't try to fix things, because for every, fraction of a degree that the temperature warms, the more of these impacts. But if we can keep it below that, that's better. I do want to say the one bit of good news in that study is that they say that they only expect us to temporarily breach that. And really, it all depends on what we do in the next couple of years when it comes to our planet warming emissions.
Yeah, legislation and global action is more important than any individual one person. All right, Ben Tracy, thank you.
Thanks, Ben.